Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Khairul Ikhwan bin Samad. I'm from RSR 2414A. Okay, today I will present about CPR technique. Okay, firstly, CPR. CPR is cardiopulmonary resuscitation. CPR is a first aid technique to help people who suffer a heart stop beating. CPR involves 30 chest compression to rescue breath to keep the casualty alive until an ambulance arrives. Purpose of CPR is to restore cardiopulmonary functioning and prevent irreversible brain damage. Okay, when CPR might be needed? Okay, the first one is when the person is sudden collapse. Second, when the person is unconsciousness. Next, when the person have a breathing problem. Next, no pulse. Next, electrocution injuries. Next, when the person drowning. And lastly, when the person exposure to smoke. Okay, next is when you do a CPR, you also should need to know when you need to stop performing CPR. Okay, the first is you see an obvious sign of life such as breathing. Okay, second is an AED is available and ready to use. AED is stand for automated external defibrillator. Okay, the third is another trained responder, paramedic or EMS personnel take over. EMS stand for emergency medical services. Okay, the fourth is you are too exhausted to continue. Okay, besides the scenes become unsafe. And lastly, the victim is pronounced dead by a physician or other individual with legal authority. I will show to you how to do CPR. Okay, the first step is call 999. First, check the scene for the factors that could put you in danger, such as traffic or fire. Next, check the person. Do they need help? Tap their shoulder and shout, "Are you okay?" If they are not responding, call 999 or ask a bystander to call 999 before performing CPR. If possible, ask a bystander to go and search for an AED machine. People can find this in office and many other public buildings. Okay, for the second step, place the person on their back and open their airways. Place the person carefully on their back and kneel beside their chest. Tilt their head back slightly and lifting their chin. Open their mouth and check for any obstruction such as food or others. Remove any obstruction if it's loose. If you want to remove the obstruction inside the victim mouth, use a hooking motion to take the obstruction out. Okay, for the third step, check for breathing. Place your ear next to the person's mouth and listen for no more than 10 seconds. If you do not hear breathing or you can only hear occipital gaps, begin CPR. If someone is unconscious but still breathing, do not perform CPR. Instead, if they do not seem to have a spinal injury, place them in the recovery position, make monitoring their breathing and perform CPR if they stop breathing. CPR step. Use the following step to perform CPR. Okay, the fourth step, perform 30 chest compression. Place one of your hand on top of the others and clasp them together. Make sure the major hand are in front with the heel of the hand and a straight elbow. Push hard and fast in the center of the chest, likely below the nipples, like this. Push at least 2 inches depth. Compress the chest at a rate at least 100 times per minute. Let the chest rise fully between compression. Okay, for step 5, performing 2 rescue breaths. Making sure their mouth is clear, tilt their head back slightly and lift their chin. Pinch their nose. Place your mouth fully over theirs and blow to make their chest rise. If the chest do not rise with the first breath, retilt their head. If their chest still does not rise with a second breath, the person might be choking. The step 6 is repeat from the step 4 until the step 6. Repeat the cycle of 30 chest compression and 2 rescue breaths until the person start breathing or help arrive. If an AED arrive, carry on performing CPR until the machine is set up and ready to use. Okay, now we go to doctor's ABCD. 4D is stand for danger. R is stand for response. S is stand for shout for help. A for airways. B stand for breathing. C stand for circulation. D stand for defibrillation. Okay, for danger, make sure the scene is away from any hazard and safe. Okay, next, respond. In respond, we are used 4 tips, which are AVPU. A stand for alert or oriented. V, verbal, respond to the verbal. P, painful, respond to the painful. And U, unconscious or unresponsive. If you suspect the victim has any possibility of a spinal injury, perform spine stabilization. Establish manual in the line stabilization MILS by bringing the victim head and neck into the neutral line position. MILS apply at cervical collar. Instruct the victim not to move head or neck. Suspect possible spine injury if the victim has an injury to the neck, to the head or neck, hit by a moving or non-moving object. For the third, falls greater than the height of the victim. And lastly, complaints of several pain to the neck or back. Okay, next is the letter S. Is stand for shout for help. Call 999 for an ambulance or ask another person to make the call. Help! 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 Next, letter A is stand for airway. Check any obstruction in the mouth. Remove any visible foreign matter in the mouth using Hawking motion. Use head tilt chin lift manual to open the airways. Jaw thrust is suspected spinal injury. Do not force any object deeper into the airways. Do not attempt to dislodge anything you cannot see. Okay, next, the letter B is stand for breathing. To determine if breathing is adequate, you must ensure adequate rate and depth of breathing. Look for the chest rise and fall. Listen for the sound of air movement at mouth and nose. Feel on your cheek for air passing in and out. Okay, next, C is stand for circulation. Check and control any active profuse bleeding. Check pulse either at the carotid or radial. Okay, and lastly, the letter D is stand for defibrillation. Application of electricity performed by an automated external defibrillator, which is known as AED. Most important definitive intervention for cardiac arrest, designed to literally shock the heart into the proper organized rhythm, which is restore the heartbeat. AED functioning can vary follow the specific instruction posed on each defibrillator. When an AED is analyzing the victim's data, no one should touch the victim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Khairul Ikhwan bin Samad. I'm from RSR 2414A. Okay, today I will present about campfire building technique. The first step is place a bucket of water near the fire to prepare or precaution if any accident happen. Okay, next, dig or clear a hole around the campfire so that the wood can be placed inside. Okay, the third one is place the rock around the wood or campfire, and the last is by doing this so that the fire keep contained. Okay, the second step is prepare the firework. So we will need to use a wood, a bucket of water, a rock, and tinder. For tinder we can use such as dry leaf or dry stick. Okay, the third step is pile up the firewood. So I will show the three types of campfire, which are TP, Liantu, and cabin wood. Okay, so for the last step is extinguish the fire. After you're done with a campfire, it is important to extinguish it so that you will prevent any accident to happen. Start with pouring water onto the ember so that you can cool down the remaining burned wood. And lastly, stir the workplace so that you can make sure that the ember or the wood is safe to touch.
Ya, buka ni kibah.